This is Talk TV.
Welcome back to Uncensored with me, Jeremy Kyle. Now, with the seemingly unstoppable torrent of knife crime showing no sign of abating, it's become all too easy to just tut and sigh and turn the page when reading of the latest brutality. Well, the stabbing of 9-year-old Lilia Valetita is not so easy to move on from. Her shocking death this week follows 12-year-old Ava White's at a Christmas light switch-on and 14-year-old Fares Matou's in April last year. Now, stabbings are going up. Unbelievably, the age of the victims is actually all going down. Delighted to be joined now by Tracey. Her son Josh was 21 years of age when he was stabbed to death in 2015. She now runs a charity in his memory which raises awareness of knife crime and helps organisations in tackling it. We're also joined by former Detective Peter Bleksley, former Superintendent of the Met, Leroy Logan. Gentlemen, just a tick. But Tracey, I want to start with you. I said it last night to Holly Dance, the mother of Archie Battersby. When it's your kid and I have 5, how do you move on from something so, I don't know, horrendous, ever?
The honest answer is you don't move on, you just move forward and do the absolute best you can in their memory. Keep shining the light on them.
There's a 10% increase in knife crime year on year. You say the statistics are higher. What do you want? How do we change this? We seem to have spoken about this for years. What is your answer as the mother of a victim?
Oh, that's a very tall question, to be honest with you, and I don't think there is one answer to that question. But I would like to see a much more uniformed approach, cross-party approach, government, police, communities, indeed members of the communities, parents, schools, right across the board. We need to have open conversations around crime, violence, victimology, and we shouldn't be scared of those conversations because education is the key.
You actually go into primary schools to advocate how kids should behave, choose your friends more carefully, etc., etc. Does that help you in a way with your own grief?
Yes, it does, because it's saving other lives. And the feedback we get is positive. When I share Josh's story, it's a true story. It's not, there's no data, no impact.
Share it with us.
Josh was a 21-year-old boy, I say, because he was just a man. And he walked into a bar and was approached by somebody that he'd never met before. There was no altercation, no argument, no fight. All the things that society typically thinks should follow any kind of form of violence. And he was approached by somebody who had a very long history of criminal activity, was an organised crime group member, was carrying a knife. And he approached my son and asked him what his problem was, to which Josh replied, "I don't have one." And then he was struck with full force with a Stanley knife, and Josh suffocated on his own blood at the scene.
Peter Bleksley, former Scotland Yard detective, we've spoken in the past a lot about, you know, this, I don't know, cancer that is knife crime. We've talked about stop and search. We've talked about the worrying trend of the age dropping. We're here from such a brave mother who's going into schools. What do we need to do? When does the talking stop? How can we change this?
I've had the great honour of knowing Tracey for some years, and I'm always humbled just by being in her company. And much of what she says is absolutely right. Excuse me. The talking needs to carry on, and Tracey and other brave people in various charities are reaching out to communities, schools, and spreading the message and trying to stop these young people before they walk out of the door of their homes going, right, have I got my keys? Have I got my phone? Have I got my knife? That's the fundamental thing that needs to be tackled.
How do we tackle that? What do we say? What do we do? Do we make the laws stronger? What do we do?
It's complex. Do we need more police? Yes. Do we need stop and search? Yes. And what a thorny subject that is. Look how often people get up in arms over that. Well, let's just look at it. We have got children killing children, sadly. So they do need to be stopped and searched, but it's got to be done properly, proportionately and explained well. And there's many other factors.
Leroy Logan, MB, former police superintendent with the Met. Stop and search, does it work?
If it's done properly, absolutely. If it's intelligence-based, not seen as a fishing expedition, because when you have a hit rate of 1 in 10, you've got someone might be carrying a knife, invariably carrying drugs, and then you've got 9 other people who are discontent in the way they've been treated without respect and dignity, and they could be potential sources of information. So
when it's 1 in 10, though, I read a statistic last year. Let's say, I could be wrong, 70,000 stop and search in London, and they found 4,000 or 5,000 knives. Isn't it worth it?
Well, you can carry it, you can find as many knives. The issue is how you target those who are carrying the knives, who are going to use it. So a lot of that, you know, people don't just carry knives and don't tell their mates. So it's a question of educating people to know they are not grasping on their mates, they're investing in the community to make it safer and stronger. And also, and as Tracey's already said, education's the key. I've been running a charity called Void Youth for 20-odd years, and we have seen young people who come from very dysfunctional backgrounds and feeling devalued and feeling persecuted, and they've turned it around, and to be more positive young people through our Young Leaders for Safer Cities programme. So it can be done. And it's to be done on a larger scale.
Taking Lyra's point, younger, you know, we're talking younger victims. Why are the victims getting younger? Is it social media? Is it what is it in your mind, Pete?
I think there's multiple factors at play. You know, and let's not duck the issue. Absent parenting, people being absent from school, many other thorny issues, and I can hear people being enraged by the mention of it.
Not me.
But we have to tackle these. We have to be courageous enough to say, these are the issues. How do we tackle them? How do we support these young people to make the most of the ability that they've got so they can be the best possible human being they can?
There's got to be a line, though, between support and, with respect, your son was 21 years of age, but when you hear of that 9-year-old, I mean, I just, to me, yes, parents, but are we being strict enough? Are the penalties for knife crime strong enough? What do you make of that? Do you think we should be stronger legally?
To be honest with you, I don't think that's going to make much of a difference, because if you're petrified and you're carrying a knife because you are scared, the penalty outweighs your fear. You're not going to think about that. And again, if you're an opportunist or you are a criminal and you're looking to raise your profile, again, that's only going to feed into your profile. I'm a bad man, or I can do this, or, you know, I'm a girl who's part of County Lines. I don't think that's the answer. I really don't. What I think the answer is intervention and prevention, and working together in a holistic way. We talk about young children, and what do we do with young children and young adults? Well, what do we do with the family as a whole? It can't just be the child. It's like I always say to young children and to the teachers when I speak to them, if you fell down and broke all the fingers on your hand, would you go to A&E and ask them to repair one finger? No, you would not. You'd want your whole hand repaired. It's the same thing as being in a home environment. Some of these children have older siblings who are part of the criminal justice system.
Just, do you take Peter's point briefly, that parental responsibility, we've talked about intervention and we've talked about the police...
I do agree that parental responsibility has to shine through, but at the same time, parents need to be educated. I've supported parents that don't even understand some of the consequences around that, and they're listening to their young people having conversations, and they're scared themselves. It's a very complex situation.
Just round the table, I think we all agree it's complex. I think it's important for everybody to be, to be involved in a process that will improve it. Can we reverse, briefly from all three of you separately, can we reverse this situation in the United Kingdom? Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's going to take time. I think one of the things we have to really understand is a pipeline to that form of mindset and criminality. One of the key things that's been part of that is exclusions. Because when you exclude a child, you're now cast them out from their networks that can keep them positive, and their alternative provisions is very patchy. So we've got to reduce that pipeline into crime and that mindset of using it. This is where police comes in and working with agencies, and because you can't arrest your way at the problem, you can't stop and search your way at the problem. You've got to work in partnership, more on the prevention side.
The hardest thing about this job sometimes is, I could talk about this for another hour, what comes out is that everybody has to work together. Tracey Hanson for sharing the story. Thank you, Peter Blexley, and of course Leroy Logan. Thank you so much. Knife crime, it's a horrific thing, and it's something that needs to be sorted, and as these three have just said, everybody needs to work together right